Fighting for a country that didn't fight for them. A glimpse into the lives of the forgotten soldiers who tried to make freedom a reality even when the system did not want them to. Hello, it is Ethan, and today I'm going to explore a subject that most people gloss over when discussing the American Revolution: the contribution of black soldiers in the struggle to gain independence. One can easily think that the war was only between white colonists and the British, yet the reality is that thousands of African Americans were heavily engaged in the war, and their presence begs many questions regarding the concept of freedom, loyalty, and the definition of democracy in a nation that was founded on slavery. The main point I would like to make is the following. Black soldiers during the American Revolution were not passive and did not simply accept their position between two systems that did not recognize them as full-fledged human beings. Their choices to fight either on the British side or the Patriot side were not only about loyalty, but survival and strategic decisions in a world that never gave them any rights. Their surface undermined the notion that the revolution was simply a struggle to liberty, and it made the U.S. confront its own hypocrisies, which it has yet to do even today. We can begin with a good example, Peter Salem. He was a slave who served in the Battle of Bunker Hill, and it is said by some historians to have shot and killed British Major John Pitcairn. One would expect that such a reputation would make a person a hero, but Salem died in poverty and obscurity. That is the trend. The black soldiers were helpful in the war, but they were thrown away after. It demonstrates how freedom in America has never been universal. A gift to some, a promise to others. Historian Benjamin Quarles points out that these men did not simply get swept up in the war. They made decisions. Others joined the patriot side with hope that they would be free after serving in the military. Some joined the British following the Dunmore Proclamation that offered freedom to slaves who would take up arms and serve the crown. Anyhow, these men were thinking. They were not mere spectators. They were taking sides depending on which side appeared to promise a better future. That is a strong agency to me. That does not mean that they always received what they were promised. Cassandra Pybus demonstrates to us that the black loyalists who fought on the British side were taken to such destinations as Nova Scotia, where they were to be given land and rights. However, racism pursued them. They were followed by broken promises. Many of them later went to Sierra Leone. Although they participated in a worldwide war, they were forced to start a new life at zero. It is one of those historical ironies that you can never forget. They fought against an empire, and they still had to begin again somewhere. And what of the ones who fought on behalf of the U.S.? The National Archives has pension records which indicate how black veterans were frequently refused assistance or were forced to plead to be heard. These documents demonstrate how the U.S. institutions, such as the military and the government, kept failing the people who contributed to their creation. There are veterans who had to struggle years to be recognized, and many were disregarded. Not only is that unjust, that is a system that is functioning as it is supposed to. The reason why all this is so relevant to me is that it is solely closely related to the larger themes of African American agency and resistance, and how the black people have always had to interact with institutions that they were never really designed with them in mind. These soldiers were not waiting to be rescued. They acted. They took hard choices. They tried to get something better out of the war, even though the results didn't always correspond to the efforts. That requires guts. That requires clarity. And it completely interferes with the clean, heroic story we are normally told about the founding of America. Working on this project helped me reflect more on the meaning of serving a nation that does not serve you in return. These men were aware of what was involved, and despite the fact that they were deprived of much land, recognition, full citizenship, they still managed to fight to make a change. I believe that their stories should get much more attention, not as a mere side note in the history of the Revolutionary War, but as an essential element of the struggle of freedom in America. Since when you consider it, their fight is still continuing to this day. Thank you for listening. I'm Ethan, and this was Fighting for a Country That Didn't Fight for Them. A glimpse into the lives of the forgotten soldiers who tried to make freedom a reality even when the system did not want them to.